Damn, so of course Halloween is over and the season of spookiness is behind us. And of course now I end up watching a movie that I should have reviewed, a couple weeks ago. But I finally watched When Evil Lurks, right? And it was fantastic. I mean, oh my gosh, it was way better than Friday Night at Five Nights at Freddy's. And it was definitely way better than Exorcist Believer. I mean, it was just a phenomenal possession demon movie. And it was Shudder's first Spanish-only production. I mean, very cool. I would have thought they would have already had foreign films, but I guess not. I had saw that this movie, I guess, even got poor audience scores. And I'm assuming probably because it's Spanish language only. I don't think they even have a dubbed version out yet in English. And unfortunately, people don't really give a shit about foreign films. And I really think people should watch more nowadays. I mean, I know no one likes to fucking read anymore, but it's, reading subtitles isn't that bad. I mean, I can understand being in theaters and having to read subtitles and maybe like feeling like it's too much. But when you're at home, for fuck's sake, just read the subtitles. You never know what you might watch. Foreign films are always fantastic. Korean, Chinese dramas and horror films, Bollywood films. I mean, just give them a chance. Anyway, so When Evil Lurks was fantastic. It follows these two brothers, Pedro and Jaime, and they find one night they hear like gunshots, and they go to investigate, and they find this body of this man near this like cabin. So they go, investigate the cabin, and they find this possessed person in there. They're called the Rotten, and the lore of this movie and in this town is so interesting. It's like possessed people are a thing, and the government doesn't really like acknowledge or deal with it. They send in these people called cleaners. The cleaners come to dispose of the bodies or probably exorcise the possessed people or whatnot, and then dispose of them. But that cleaner ended up not making it, and he died on his way to the house. So really, really ominous, really, really freaky. So the men decide, with the help of their neighbor, that they should either dispose of the body or leave town, because pretty much once a possessed person is in your town, it's never going to end well unless the cleaners are able to get rid of it, which they weren't. So they devise a plan to, instead of leaving town, which they should have, they're going to go and take the body out of the house and just dispose it like miles away from town and hope that, everything's good. So they dispose of the body. And of course, everyone advises against it. They're like, you're gonna put a curse on the town. This isn't the right way. Let the cleaners deal with it. It's really interesting, right? And it's all Spanish language, so it's just awesome. The emotion is really good. So of course they dispose of the body, and on their way to dispose of it, they accidentally lose the body. They almost hit this like kid in the road, and the body ends up falling out of the guy's truck. And so they assume like, what? It's good. It's dealt with. We're far enough from town. Let's just let it be. And of course, it's not all right, and a curse falls upon the town, and just horrible things start happening throughout the film. And the first thing is the neighbor that helped them move the body. He ends up seeing this goat, because he has all these goats, and his wife like calls him out because this goat is acting all weird, and he realizes the fucking goat's possessed. So he's gonna shoot the goat, and the wife is like, you can't use firearms. You're not supposed to use firearms to kill the possessed, because it will make things worse. They have like these sets of rules, these assorted rules to follow whenever dealing with a possessed person, because if you don't deal with it correctly, you could curse the town, curse yourself, curse your family, or in a sense. So he's like not listening to her, and he fucking shoots the goat. And the minute he shoots the goat, she goes and she grabs this axe, and that's what's on the cover of the film, on the red poster of the film. And so right when he shoots the goat, she fucking just hits him in the head with the axe and like immediately kills him, and then just hits herself in the face constantly, and then kills herself. It's like, damn, it was very brutal. Like she hits herself like 5 times, and on like the 3rd time you're like, damn, all right, like you dead. The one brother, Pedro, he has an ex-wife and kids in the middle of town, more in the city. So they go to get the kids, and as he's arguing with his ex-wife, telling her like, we have to go, there's a possessed person, like, there's the town is rotten, blah blah blah. Their daughter, because he has a daughter and 2 sons. One of them is autistic, and one of them's like the younger son. The daughter is standing near their dog, and the dog ends up fucking attacking the little girl. And like, oh my God, it is so brutal. Like, people have been talking about it, and that was another reason why I watched it, because they said a lot of the scenes are very like jarring, and that it was better than The Exorcist Believer. So that scene, I could tell it was coming. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna do something. And sure enough, he fucking just like bites her face, and you're like, fuck, oh my God. and he drags her out, and they go trying to chase her down. And when they eventually find the dog, the father-in-law, the ex-wife's new husband, shoots the dog, which you shouldn't have done, because again, you're not supposed to use firearms. So like the guy killing the goat, the guy kills the dog, immediately gets possessed, the stepfather, and he ends up running over his wife and the daughter, because the daughter ends up appearing out of nowhere, like she's like fine all of a sudden, which obviously she's not. She just got her face mauled by a fucking dog. Then later they end up meeting. Jaime has this woman that he was friends with back in the day. He had like this like crush on her, like he was a young teen. She was a older woman. They had like a little affair or whatever. And she's one of the only people in town that has apparently been around a possessed person who has dealt with with a rotten. So they go to her house, and they're like holding up at her house. And she has this machine, this contraption that's gonna be able to exorcise the demon if they go find that original body that they disposed of. They have to go find that original rotten. And while they're there, fucking the mom that just died, right? The Pedro's wife, she ends up, or his ex-wife now, she ends up showing up at the house possessed, and she kidnaps the younger son. And like, fuck, it's so sad, right? Like, as she kidnaps the younger son, you find out that the autistic brother, he's like freaking out. He can't really speak. He's like grunting and moaning and all this shit. So you're like, man, he's obviously like freaking out. He probably got a bit of downs. So he's just like, not in his right mind. And maybe you're feeling like he's sensing that his brother's being abducted. So his brother gets kidnapped by the mom, right? And she's now possessed. And it's so fucking sad, because the dad, Pedro, he tries to stop her. And right when he tries, she fucking like jumps over the ledge of the house, because they're on like the second story or whatever. She jumps over the ledge, killing herself and the kid. It's just so sad, right? So then Pedro tells Jaime, like, all right, like, you go try to find my wife and son, try to save my son. I'm gonna go with the woman that we're here with and try to exorcise and find that demon. So as the brother tries to go find the mom and his son, fucking he finds them walking down the road, and the mom is holding him and like eating his fucking brains out. And it's just so crazy. Like, I loved that they showed it. Like, like it was just like, oh my gosh, like Exorcist Believer, like, was literally them in solitary confinement. Well, not solitary, but they were in confinement most of the movie. Whereas this, like, having them just roam and just doing shit like this was just crazy. Like, and he drives past her all slow, and she's like straight like eating his brains, and you're like, fuck, like the kid's fucking dead. The kid is obviously dead. So then he backs up, and he runs into both of them. He runs over them to like put them out of their misery, and inadvertently actually doesn't, like, I mean, he does, but she's still like very much so alive and possessed, and it's like, fuck. So then as the guy, Pedro, are with the lady that's gonna help him do this exorcism, as they're out in the town looking for the original possessed body that they lost, they end up finding it at this school. They end up noticing this this school, not abandoned, but the school there has a bunch of kids in it. And then the lady ends up saying like, oh, the possessed are drawn to children. Children are somehow drawn to it. They protect it. They care for it and shit. And pretty much they are in fact watching over the fucking body. Like, and it's fucking weird. And the body is is buried underneath the bodies of the children's parents. It's just, and they apparently like killed their parents and then used it to cover up the body to keep the body warm or whatever. It's fucking weird. So they end up uncovering the body. All the kids are trying to like stop them in a sense. They're telling them like, oh, leave him alone, leave him alone. And then one of the little girls, she's like, oh, like there's an axe over there. Just kill him. Like he's trying to hurt us, like blah, blah. So as the friend is trying to set up the exercise machine, Pedro ends up leaving to go get the axe that the kids are saying to use to kill it, because they're now like, oh, just kill him, don't exercise him. And when he goes to get the axe, of course, he gets trapped in the room, and they all kill the lady, the old friend, and they destroy the machine, whatever machine was supposed to like exercise it or whatever. And when he comes out, the fucking demon is born. So the possessed guy, the reason he was so fat and like blown up is because he was literally he was going to give birth to like the Antichrist or like this demon child. So the demon child ends up coming up out of the body and like fucking blesses Pedro, and fucking like in a sense of like, hey, thanks for like fucking setting me free. And he fucking just walks out into the field with a group of kids to go like fucking, I guess, destroy the world. It's so sad. Like, you're like, fuck, everything's fucked. This guy totally fucked us. Like, what the fuck? He wasn't listening to the lady. Like, I mean, it was just so bad. So anyway, he goes back home, and it turned out that his brother Jaime picked up their mom, right? They went to go pick up their mom earlier and brought her over to the safe house as well, so they could leave and or figure out what's going on so they can all be safe. And it turns out the autistic kid actually was possessed the whole time because they say that the demon was lost. So when the demon possessed the autistic son, because the son's mind was all scrambled, the demon got lost in the scrambled mind and couldn't actually possess the kid. But when he eventually does, because it's like a matter of time, either he will possess it or the demon will just be lost in the body longer until it actually takes over. He took over and he fucking eats the grandma. Like, he actually kills and chops up and eats the grandma, his grandma. And it's just, their mom. And it is just so... They don't show it. That's the one thing I wish they would have showed. I wish they would have showed it in, like, flashbacks of the autistic son, because he now has to live with remembering that he ate his grandma. But since he is autistic and he have downs, he can't, like, speak or do anything about it. And it's so sad. Like, it's so devastating. And the autistic kid's like trying to eat some ice cream, and then he starts choking up blood, and he starts like choking up like hair and shit, and like throws up the necklace of the grandma. And like the film just ends with Pedro and Jaime like walking outside and just like crying in silence and yelling because they pretty much lost everything. They lost their entire family. He lost all of his kids pretty much, because now his son's gonna be like, he's gonna have to be admitted into a mental hospital probably. And it's just it was super good. Like, the whole movie was fantastic. I know I pretty much broke it all down, but like, damn, I really fucking enjoyed this movie, and I would watch it again. And the fact that it was Spanish only didn't really matter. If anything, it's just gonna help me brush up on Spanish. I mean, hola, me llamo Craig. Es when Evil Lurks, muy bueno. Or like something like a machaca or whatever it was. They have the title in Spanish. It's pretty sick. But I definitely suggest you guys watch it. It's on Shudder. You guys could probably watch it other places, but I know it is on Shudder specifically. Like I said, it's Spanish only, so you'll have to use subtitles, but like, fucking just read. It's fine, and you'll enjoy it. And the emotion in it and the acting in it is just so good. You definitely won't be able to look away. But yeah, check it out. When Evil Lurks. This has been Ghost in the Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.